In this video, we'll be looking at some of the most dangerous places in the world. If you haven't watched part 1, go check it out. These countries have been devastated by war, authoritarian regimes and sanctions. Hit that subscribe button and let's get started. Mali. Since early 2012, Mali has faced numerous challenges, including a failed coup, renewed fighting between government forces and rebels, and the takeover of its northern territory by extremists. The conflict has caused widespread harm to civilians and impacted the humanitarian situation. In 2021, 30 civilians were killed in a bus attack near Sonho. 26 of those were women and children. With a population of 21.8 million, the Malian government is striving to restore stability. Kidnapping and armed robbery are practiced against foreigners, and the money is often used to fund terrorism. Branches of ISIS and Al-Qaeda are present in Mali. More recently, in 2022, 1 Togolese and 3 Italians were kidnapped by armed men, and a few months later, there was an attack on a military base 15 kilometers from Bamako city center. Libya. With 7.1 million people, Libya has been in a state of chaos since the death of its former leader Muammar Gaddafi in 2011. The transitional government ceded authority to the General National Congress in 2012, but it faced challenges from Islamist militants and the spread of the Islamic State. In 2014, the Libyan National Army launched Operation Dignity to attack Islamist groups, leading to a civil war. The UN-supported Government of National Accord, or GNA, has struggled to create a stable government, and the country remains politically and tribally divided with armed groups fighting over oil fields. The Western allies are concerned about the permanent fracture of the country, migration, and human trafficking. In 2018, the GNA declared a state of emergency, and rival groups, including the Libyan National Army and GNA security forces, continue to fight over control of the National Oil Corporation. The presence of the Islamic State has added complexity to the conflict. North Korea. North Korea is considered one of the most dangerous places in the world for foreigners due to the restrictions and dangers posed by the country's authoritarian regime. Visitors to North Korea are highly monitored, and their movements and activities are closely controlled. They are not allowed to leave their tour group or have any unsupervised interaction with local citizens, and they are also not permitted to take photographs or access the internet without government permission. The punishment for breaking these rules can be severe, including imprisonment and even long-term detention. Additionally, the political climate in North Korea is highly volatile, and tensions with other countries, particularly the United States, are heightened due to the country's nuclear weapons program. This can create dangerous situations for anyone living or visiting North Korea, who may find themselves in harm's way if the political situation were to escalate. Central African Republic. Rebel activity, banditry, and kidnapping are widespread in Central African Republic, leading to increased safety risks for travelers. It has faced instability since its independence from France in 1960. Despite its wealth in valuable resources such as diamonds, gold, oil, and uranium, the country has one of the world's lowest living standards for its population. Illegal roadblocks are common, and travelers may be extorted for money or belongings. Victims have also been robbed and taken hostage, with their vehicles being stolen or burned. There have been reports of violent and indiscriminate attacks on travelers in remote areas, including shootings, killings, and injuries. Somalia. The civil war in Somalia has led to a fragmented state and the proliferation of criminal and terror groups. On October 29, 2022, a horrific attack on the Ministry of Education resulted in over 100 fatalities and 300 injuries. Another attack on the Tawakkul Hotel in Kismayo took 13 lives and left 47 injured. The Hyatt Hotel in central Mogadishu was also targeted, causing 21 fatalities and 117 injuries, both also in 2022. The country is plagued by dangerous criminal activities by armed militias, including murders, armed robbery, and kidnappings. The ongoing violence between factions, which includes the use of heavy weapons, has resulted in civilian casualties. Iraq. Located in the Middle East, with a population of 42.6 million, Iraq has faced conflict since the United States invasion in 2003. The country is vulnerable to terror attacks from Al-Qaeda and ISIS. The 2003 invasion saw the deployment of military capabilities developed with the assistance of companies such as Lockheed Martin, Northrop Grumman, and Raytheon Technologies. The Islamic State took control of parts of Iraq in 2014, leading the United States and an international coalition to launch airstrikes and regain control. However, the aftermath of the conflict has resulted in a number of challenges, including the displacement of over 2 million people and the need for humanitarian assistance. The US military officially ended major combat operations in 2018, and over 5,000 US troops remain in Iraq to help train the military and stabilize the country. The election of a coalition led by Muqtada al-Sadr as the new government raises questions about Iranian influence and the future of US troops in Iraq. Democratic Republic of Congo. The current violence in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, or DRC, can be traced back to the 1990 genocide in Rwanda and the resulting refugee crisis. This led to the formation of armed groups, including the March 23rd movement, and eventually a war from 1998 to 2003 between government forces and rebels. The violence has continued due to poor governance, weak institutions, and corruption, fueled by the country's mineral wealth, estimated to include $24 trillion of untapped mineral resources. Companies stopped buying minerals from the DRC due to complex supply chains, leading to poverty and forcing some miners to join armed groups. The weak governance and prevalence of over 100 armed groups have led to widespread rape, human rights violations, and poverty. The UN has estimated there are 4.5 million internally displaced people in the DRC and over 800,000 refugees. South Sudan. South Sudan is a young and volatile country, gaining independence from Sudan in 2011 after 2 decades of war. The country was soon hit by economic turmoil as the oil-dependent economy crashed after a decision to cut off all oil production. Political violence and corruption have also plagued the country, leading to food insecurity and widespread starvation. The civil war has claimed an estimated 50,000 to 300,000 lives, with tribal divisions and corruption among political and military elites hindering peace. Despite allegations of human rights violations, progress in ending impunity has been slow. Syria. Syria is still facing political instability, conflict, and economic turmoil 10 years after the uprising that started the war. The country is divided. The regime in control of most of the country has the help of Russia and Iran, and the northwest is controlled by Turkey. Israel has been bombing targets in Syria said to belong to Iran-linked militias. The US targeted an Iraq-based militia in Syria shortly after Biden's inauguration in 2021. The violence has waned, but the population is suffering an economic crisis, with over 80% living in poverty, and they are the main victims of international sanctions. Yemen. Yemen is facing a 7-year-old civil war that has become a proxy war between Iran-backed Houthi rebels and a multinational coalition led by Saudi Arabia. The conflict has caused widespread suffering, with millions displaced and threats of famine, cholera outbreaks, and medicine shortages. Fuel price hikes, the Houthi takeover of Sana'a military division, and the Saudi intervention to restore the Hadi administration are some of the causes of the conflict. Despite a months-long ceasefire in 2022, a political solution to the conflict has not been reached. If you liked this video, you'll love this suggestion. Click and go watch. Like, subscribe, and goodbye.